How's your boy Charles on there's world checking in. Hit that thumbs up button. Listen, I am so excited. We are checking out Diary of a Madman by Brad Scarface Jordan. Y'all don't know who Scarface is. You don't know hip hop. He representing Houston, Texas legend. He started with the Ghetto Boys. Let's check this out, guys. We play an excerpt from it, and I'm gonna come back to my reaction. Hit that thumbs up button. Appreciate it.
Scarface record off and hooked up with rap a lot, and it was on. I think people who aren't from Houston or who have never spent time there either forget or fail to realize that Houston is a big-ass fucking town. It's not New York or LA, but it's the fourth largest city in the US, and that's no recent boom. Houston has been a big city for a long, long time, and because of that, it's always been a destination. We get all sorts of people passing through Houston from all sorts of places, and they always bring their influences, and then we mix that with what we've always had going on, and that's where the city's culture comes from. The Ghetto Boys are a great example. Reddy Red and Bill were both from the East Coast, and so was Johnny C back in the group's early days. And then you combine them with Willie and James, who were from the North Side, and with me being from the South Side, which was like a whole other city unto itself, and you end up with a group that could take that Northeast hip-hop influence and put it in a mix that spoke to the whole city, not just the North Side or the South Side. But of course, it went beyond that. When we were coming up, we were always getting music from other cities however we could. I had my cousin in New York feeding me records, but then the whole city was getting hip to the shit coming out of New Orleans. Guys like MC Thick, Tim Smooth, Bust Down, and all of that. And then when Cash Money started making noise later, we jumped on that quick because they were jamming like a motherfucker. Plus James was going all over the place and bringing back all of the shit he was hearing, and we were pulling all of that together and making something new, something that spoke to us, for us. We just had one rule: no biting. You never want it to sound like anybody else. Being influenced by someone is one thing, but you could never copy. That shit was whack. If you were following someone else's style, you always had to put your own twist on it. We were inspired by Run DMC, but if Run DMC was clicking in and out and trading lines during verses, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to find our own way and our own style of tearing shit down. And that went for everything, from making music to simple shit like the color of your car. If a nigga painted his car orange, the last thing you wanted to do was paint your car orange. I think that's one of the things that's helped the Houston scene thrive over the years. The city is full of super solid motherfuckers, and there ain't nothing fake about it. It was all about finding your own style and claiming your own space and standing on your own too as an individual and as a man. You never wanted to be confused for anybody else. Being authentic has always been key. We also took rapping seriously as fuck. I can't speak for the other cities in the South and Midwest that started developing their own scenes around then, but in Houston, it was like in New York. You had to know how to rap. You couldn't just be out here doing that ABC shit. Hell no. You'd get your ass clowned all the way back to your mama's house. That shit wasn't going to fly. But with us, it quickly went from trying to out-rap each other to telling it how it is and giving a real voice to the ghetto. And once we made that shift, you had to back your shit up. So that's what it was about. Going in the booth and speaking your mind. Fuck what another nigga felt about it. And you can't fake that. I took all of that shit to heart from jump. If I didn't want anything else out of the rap game, I wanted Houston to know what I was about. And I wanted New York to respect my flow. And I wanted to be compared to the greats. When someone said, "Who's on the rap Mount Rushmore?" I wanted my name to come up in the conversation and to start an argument about whether or not I'd earned my place. If I could just get that, then I'd done my job. To me, the coldest thing in the world would have been to go unrecognized, where someone would listen to a song or an album or a verse and just write it off like, "Oh, he ain't saying nothing." I refuse to let that be me. From the moment I first laid breath on the mic, I had to be the most consistent, most authentic, realest, baddest, coldest motherfucker in the game. That had to be me. Had to be. Chapter 16. Diary of a Madman. I've always been a writer. I remember my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. McCluskey, teaching me the basics of storytelling, and that every story had to have an intro, a rising action, a climax, and then a conclusion, or else it wasn't complete. That's a lesson I've carried with me my whole life, but I wrote beautifully even then. I remember when I was in sixth grade, I wrote a poem about spring or some shit, and it was so good that all of my teachers thought I copied it from something. They called everybody, the principal, the assistant principal, the other teachers, everyone, into the classroom to hear me read that shit to them because they thought it was so amazing that a 12-year-old could write something that complicated and intricate. But what can I say? It's in my blood. This isn't a fluke or a gimmick. This is what I was born and bred to do. My uncles are stone cold with the pen, and my cousins